Hey, this is Adam Spiegelman from the movie podcast Proudly Resents, and you're listening to the School of Podcasting's morning announcements.
Today on episode number 332 of the School of Podcasting's morning announcements, we're going to talk a little New Media Expo, and we're going to talk a lot with an SEO expert, Marcus Couch, on getting more people to your website. And this is without spending a single dime.
The School of Podcasting with Dave Jackson.
Podcasting since 2005. I am your personal podcast coach, Dave Jackson. Thanking you so much for tuning in. If you're new to the show, this is the original podcast about podcasting, and we talk about all things podcasting, from planning to recording to producing to monetizing, all points in between, as I help you avoid the podcasting pitfalls. So today we're going to talk about ways that, we all want more listeners, more viewers. We want more activity on our website. And we're going to be talking with Marcus Couch about how you can control your website and get maximum exposure for it without really spending a dime. Now, if you want to join in on the conversation, I would love to have you. You can go out to the website. You can click on the comment button on the website. And today, everything I talk about today, you can go to schoolofpodcasting.com/332. If you're on your phone, you can call me, 888-563-3228. That's courtesy of podcastvoicemail.com. You can email me, dave@schoolofpodcasting.com, or you can click on the voicemail button on the left-hand side. It says send voicemail. As of January 17th, as I record this, it's on the left-hand side. And I would just love to hear from you. Special thanks to Adam Spiegelman over at proudlyresents.com. When I first heard that, I was like, wait, is he dishing the show here? Wait a minute. That's his podcast. And he talks about cult movies over there. If you want to check it out, again, it's proudlyresents.com. Thanks for kicking off the show for us. And I want to talk about the New Media Expo. I originally was not going to go. I was about 90% sure I wasn't going. Now I'm about 90% sure I am going. And the reason I wasn't going is my wife, unfortunately, after she's a nurse, has been a nurse for 20 years, lost her job, and we're about 90% sure she got a new one. So we went from extreme conservative spending to, hey, let's go to Vegas. And if you're looking to go, you can actually register for $67. Just go out to schoolofpodcasting.com/N as in Nancy, MX, NMX, schoolofpodcasting.com/NMX. A lot of great speakers out there. I will not be speaking this time. This will be the first time I'm going that I'm not speaking, but when I found out that they weren't having one on the East Coast this year, I'm like, this is the podcasting convention, really. Yes, there are pod camps, but this is like the big one. Podcast awards are going to be out there as well, and a lot of my buddies are going there. So if you're interested in going, again, schoolofpodcasting.com/NMX. So I will keep you posted on that, because I would love to see you. If you're going to be there, definitely want to hook up with that. And also, I wanted to point out some stats that I got. This is from Libsyn, and this came out earlier in the week. And it said, and I'm going to read this, so if it sounds like I'm reading, the world's leading podcast network today announced it had reached, through its Libsyn podcasting platform, an all-time high of 25 million unique monthly audience members in September. Substantial growth in podcast download requests has continued, with the third quarter showing a 14% increase over the second quarter of 2012. So just from one quarter to the next, we've gone up 14%, and we've gone up 29% from last year. Let's say that one again. Podcast listening is up 29% in 1 year. And now the third quarter results show that podcasting represents significant opportunities for revenue and audience expansion. We continue to exceed previous milestones with 25 million unique listeners or downloads, increasing customer acquisitions and strong growth in revenue and download requests. With the popularity of podcasting on the rise, Libsyn remains the premier podcasting distribution and monetization platform. Something to keep in mind here. This is just Libsyn. We talked about the stats from Todd Cochran of the Blueberry Network. That's one. And then there's all sorts of other, there's TalkShoe, there's Blog Talk Radio that are Kakapoo, Podbean, So this is just one, and it's up almost 30%. So to all you idiots, all you people that have been telling me that podcasting is dead, stick it. Sorry. I can see the people in my other offices going, what is that guy doing over there? It's another human sacrifice. So I just get upset when people tell me podcasting is dead, because then there you go. Good old hard facts to chew on that, would you? So, but now this will be a nice lead in. Why do people write posts that say podcasting is dead? Because they know people like me will jump all over that and say, no, it's not. And I'll point them at my blog that points this out. But it's writing things sometimes that will get a response. And that in some ways is called link baiting. And what I mean by that is they fished me in. I went over and I said, nah, you're stupid. You're really stupid. You don't know anything about podcasting, right? But here's the point. I don't go back and read their blog again. So as much as writing something really, really controversial on your website may get you a lot of viewers for that post, you're not going to get a lot of viewers later. You're not going to get subscribers, right? And so today we're talking with Marcus Couch, and you'll hear his introduction here in a second. But he's going to talk about how you can position your content, your text, and we're going to talk some plugins. We're going to talk some themes. And at the very end of the show, Marcus, just for you, buddy, I have a special rewind just for you, buddy. But here is my interview with Marcus Couch, and you'll hear why you want to listen to this guy. Well, joining me via Skype, he has been podcasting for over 7 years. He is the co-host and executive producer of one of my favorite podcasts, WordPress Plugins A to Z, where he's also a host and producer of The Scene Zine. Now, this was one of the original music shows back in the day of podcasting, a great hard rock and heavy metal podcast. We'll be talking about that a little bit. He's also the host of an upcoming video show called The Daily Plugin that I am chomping at the bit for that bad boy to come out. Now, in between all that, he's also the affiliate Why can I not talk today? He's also it's normal, right?
You want me to say it? I'll do it. He also runs the Affiliate Marketing Masters Group on LinkedIn, which now has over 8,000 affiliate program managers and affiliate members.
Now, in a previous day gig life, Marcus has also been, and this is impressive, the director of marketing at entrepreneur.com, and he's considered by the podfather, Adam Curry. For those of you that are new to podcasting, he invented podcasting. He considers Marcus to be the most successful ROI podcaster on the planet. We're talking small audience, big returns, return on investment, people. And we'll get more into that in a little bit as well. So, Marcus Couch, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks. It's surprising I haven't been on thus far in the years that we've been hanging out together, but glad to be on the show.
It only took 330 some episodes. That's all right.
Sorry, just save the best for later on in the episode log. Yes, Absolutely. But no, I'm happy to be here, and we've prepared some things together on this show as far as different strategies for success in podcasting and internet marketing and SEO.
Absolutely. I'm tapping you here as Mr. SEO. So why don't you just start off by telling us, well, first of all, how did you get started in podcasting? And then how did that evolve into an SEO strategy, for success?
Okay. I started in podcasting, as you noted, with my music show, The Scene Zine. Now, originally, The Scene Zine was not even a podcast. It was something that I did as part of an involvement with a record label that I had back when there were independent record labels and independent record stores. That's gone. But right then, what I did was I had the strategy. I was booking all of these music shows together, and I would take 2 songs from each of the 6 bands that we would have on these super shows, and I'd edit them together on a CD, and I would sort of interview the band in between the 2 tracks. So we would give that out at all of the shows that we did, and all around Chicago that got to be pretty prominent. I'm actually forced each band to burn 100 copies apiece. So that's 600 that we gave out at every show, and we did one show a week. So eventually the guy that was our distributor got a hold of one of these particular CDs and called me into his office, and I drove in, and I thought I was going to get the riot act. But actually what he did is he said, I got a hold of one of these CDs, and I think these are great, and I want you to record 10,000 a month of these, and I'll help you pay for all the distribution of it, as far as we're going to put this in the record stores, and when somebody orders or buys a independent, listen to me, orders. Somebody buys some independent music, we'll have them throw this CD in. So that was kind of a podcast on CD. Now, when I actually found out about podcasting, it was because I was looking for a way to put this CD every month that we would do on the internet so that actual people could then just listen to it and come out to our shows or buy the particular CDs of the artists that we were representing. So that's how I got started in podcasting. And so what I did is, obviously, like a lot of the early form podcasters, got involved with what Adam Curry was doing. And so I wrote Adam directly and said, look, I have tons and tons of content already as far as, ready to go. And it took a good, I'd say 6 months of going back and forth. And then he finally revealed that they had plans for Podshow and the Podshow Network, and joining up with a lot of other people like Michael Butler and CeCe Chapman and Julian Smith, guys that went on to write bestsellers and
right.
all the other stuff. But that's basically how I got started. So sponsorship arrangements soon followed after that, and I was lucky enough to do well enough to where I could afford to quit my day job then and then move from Chicago out to where I'm at now, which is in Laguna Beach, California.
Awesome. Now, when we talk about Marcus doing well, I got a clip here. I got to play this. Now, this is from No Agenda, I believe. No, Daily Source Code. Where's this?
Daily Source Code, episode 750, which was April 23rd, 2008. So that was in the heyday of kind of competitive podcaster, marketing.
Absolutely. And you're up against, like you mentioned, Julian Smith. I mean, here's a guy that knows marketing. And so let me play this clip for you. And this is Adam Curry talking about they had a contest for Nokia. And let me just play the clip. It'll kind of explain itself.
And I received a really, if all clients were like this. Many of you probably know that Luke the Candyman works for Nokia. He's a Dutchman. He lives in Finland. And we worked with him to create the Nokia N810 Internet Tablet promotion and campaign across the network. So the campaign ended on April 15th, and he called in, and he gave some stats. And just listen to this. Now, remember, yes, he's someone who we talk to, and he does his own show with a comic strip blogger called Yo Agenda. A little plug there, which is kind of an answer show to No Agenda. But he's also a client, and it's really lovely when you receive something like this from a client.
Hello, Adam. It's the Candyman here. You know that last couple of months when people have been signing off their audio comments, they have been hoping that you would win. Hope you win and all that stuff. So I now received the final results of the Nokia N810 Podshow promotion campaign. And let's have a look whether you actually did win, shall we? Of course, first of all, I want to thank everybody who went out and bought an N810 using one of the Podshow promotion codes. I think that's a great thing, and I really hope they enjoy using the N810 and that it adds something to their day-to-day internet usage or media experience.
There you go.
So let's look at the top 3 of the big selling shows during the N810 campaign. On number 3, our favorite tech goddess, Kelly Lewis with Geek Brief TV. In second place, and sorry, Adam, but that means you didn't win.
I didn't win.
So in second place, Adam Curry with the Daily Source Code. And on number 1, my new hero, he's my new BFF of the Candyman, the sales monster of the Podshow Network, Marcus Couch from the Scene.
Go, Marcus!
I mean, he completely destroyed the competition with his sales numbers. It was
Hold on a second, Luke. There's no competition, dude. We all sit together in groups and we talk about the best way to do this. There's no competition. It's co-opetition. We love working together, and I couldn't be happier for Marcus.
It was really a very, very good achievement, so I advise everybody to check out his show at thescenezine.com.
All right, so that is impressive. Number one, that had to feel really good to hear Adam Curry say, yeah, I got beat. That'd be pretty cool.
That was.
And again, like I said, you're up against, think about this, we're talking about Callie Lewis, Julian Smith, Adam Curry, the guy had the most listened to podcast at that time. And it sounds like not only did you beat him, you kind of spanked everybody along the way. So
yeah. Now, okay, I will refute a couple of things that you heard in that clip. First, you heard Adam say there is no competition. That's only said by the people that didn't get first place, right? There is no competition. Right. Because that's really the only way that I kind of pushed myself to do that. And again, you heard in that clip that people would call in and leave comments to Adam Curry, and that was, he would get 20 a day. And at the end, everybody would sign off, hope you win, hope you win. And I knew right then, you know what? If I knock him off this, then I will be a pin in the map forever, as far as this audience goes. Now, I didn't expect him to make this big of a dramatic announcement, but I knew that, with that much buildup, that something would have to be said. So when that clip finally came out, and when he actually finally did that, it solidified a lot of my different strategies, not only to what I thought would work, but then everybody in the entire network of Pod Show / Mevio at the time kind of knew that I was the man. So that did a lot for my self-esteem and a lot for the fact that I got to pick and choose whatever sponsors I wanted from that point forward.
Awesome. Now, of course, the one question that we all want to know, okay, we understand you did this. How did you do that? I mean, that's a great feat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's all content related. Now, how does a guy that has a heavy metal music show end up kicking the tail out of, the tech goddess, Callie Lewis, and Adam? Well, I started talking not only on the show about what this particular product, and what this thing was a Nokia N810, which it was a pretty cool device at the time. And, the discounts that we were giving with our promo code saved people like $150 on it. So it was a pretty sweet offer. How did I do it? I networked. I networked not only with other people that I thought could help me promote it, but I went to the actual forums and things where the people that used these tablets hung out at. And so I started talking about some of the early features and the product images that I was getting, to leak to them. And then they, in turn, were getting excited about my show, and I would, kind of cross-promote and that type of thing. So I had a lot of exposure within that market directly because I sought out the niche, and then I tried to drive myself into the conversation.
Very cool. So you didn't go there and just say, hi, I'm Marcus Couch, listen to my podcast. You went in and became part of that community.
Yeah, I got immersed into them with the technology. I had this device as well. Nokia sent me one. So for me, I became the geek with them. I was showing some of the early videos of how it worked and some of the capabilities and answering questions from people out there that didn't yet have one. So all throughout the campaign, I was very active in the product marketing itself. And this was, Facebook wasn't around. There wasn't likes or anything like that. I had to actually get in the trench with these guys and talk about what it is that I was marketing.
Very cool. Well, for people that are brand new to this, and we keep saying SEO, let's go back. Let's talk some fundamentals.
Sure.
What the heck is SEO?
Okay. SEO is not what you think it is. It is merely just a description of trying to make your content more indexable, more friendly to search engines, Google, Yahoo, those types. The rationale behind this would be that the better you get ranked, the more traffic that you see to your content. Okay, so Google and other search engines look at your content with basically three different things.
All right.
It's on-page time, which means how long do they stay on a particular page? If you've got a 600-word article and the average on-page time is 10 seconds, chances are Google is going to go, they really don't read through the whole article here. So you really have to make sure that your content on page is great. And also remember, Google doesn't buy anything. And for podcasters, Google doesn't listen to anything. They don't watch anything. They determine how great your content is based on how long somebody stays there. The next thing is backlinks. Now, these are not as important as they used to be. Consider this. If you're a podcaster, you've got media attached to your post, let's just say. If you make it to where all of your particular posts are going to go out of Libsyn or Blueberry or one of the other networks out there, you may be giving up some of the most important aspects of your content. If you use your website as just kind of a side note and use all of your show notes and your links in Libsyn, then you're giving up the ability for your site to be the authority, okay? Now, where does that fall into line with backlinks? Well, other podcast directories out there will replicate your show notes and therefore your links. So you want to make sure that they all point to you. Google also knows that, if you put a podcast player on your page, that's guaranteed about a minute's time at least that someone will sit through your intro, wait for the show to start, things like that. A minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes is a good starting point for any kind of on-page time. So all of that matters. And then most importantly, it is what is in your content that you would possibly rank on Google. If you have a podcast and you literally put in show notes that are 4 lines long. Hey, listen, John just talks about his rubber ducky and his kids and a whole lot more. Click the player above. Google's not going to rank you very high for that because you don't have any context in which to rate your content throughout their search engine.
Yeah, I've always heard that you need like around 300 words to be a significant amount enough for Google to at least pay attention.
Exactly. And it shouldn't all just be the same thing every time. Oh, here's how to find me on Twitter, that type of thing. Right. So a lot of different things regarding SEO and podcasting. So hopefully what we've prepared here will kind of dispel a lot of those different things. So let's get started. I think one of the things that you have to remember when talking about SEO in any context is that techniques are always changing. They're always evolving. I've seen things like exact match domains and article marketing and no frames tags, keyword stuffing, all of that was always the thing to do. And everybody wrote ebooks about it and said it was the fast cash thing. They all used to be the thing to do. But then Google changes something and all of a sudden none of that works anymore. So the key is stay educated on what it is that you're trying to do. Always have a goal and know that what works really well today might not work tomorrow.
Yeah, it's an ever-changing thing. It's you make a great point there. There's so many people that go through all this hassle to get their website just right, and then the next minute Google changed something, and you're back down to the pipe at the bottom of the list.
That's right.
So
now, you talk about this all the time for other reasons. We talk about this on all of our other podcasts as far as, I know that you tell a lot of your bands in the Marketing Musician podcast that you have to buy your own website and not worry about other entities. And we all, how many bands are still promoting their MySpace? I can't even say it anymore. It's so obsolete.
Right.
But remember, the only thing that you can truly control is your website. Just ask the folks at FeedBurner if you can control FeedBurner anymore. You can't, okay?
Right.
You can't control what Google does. You can't control what your competition does or even whether Facebook is going to be around 10 years from now. So spend the time on your site and treat it like an asset because that's what it is.
Absolutely.
And finally, just as a prelude to the rest of the discussion here, gaming the system takes way more work than just following best practices and doing it right the first time. If you have a clear set goal in mind and you follow some basic fundamental steps, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I've known people that have just gone so far to, learn the latest, greatest black hat kind of strategies, and they do this, and I always think if you just use your powers for good.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, what made me very good as a revenue driving podcast from even just having a music podcast, it's because I did really good show notes. Mm-hmm. I talked all the time about the different sponsors I had and the different offerings that they had and the money that you could save, and really went into it instead of just saying, GoDaddy coupon code right here. And I actually showed the benefit of what these particular things would do. So then naturally, when search engine results would come up, obviously my content was rich and unique every single time. And that's what made me a success. And then that's what made me go, first off, how am I doing this? That was the first question. What? A check? What? From this? Mm-hmm. And that was the first thing was, okay, how am I doing it? And then how do I replicate that?
Because the other thing we should point out, when we say he had a music podcast, this isn't any, pop, Katy Perry kind of, this is hard. We're talking hard, heavy metal stuff. So it's not that you had a small audience, but it was definitely a niche audience. And so, it was something that it wasn't that the podcast numbers were driving. It's you obviously had an influence with your audience, but like you said, it was the show notes that was really getting the attention of the search engines.
Yeah. And see, now there's an interesting point. Had I wanted to be the number one hard rock and heavy metal podcast on the internet as far as listeners, I would have just shifted the way that I spoke of my content in my show notes more towards that. But my main goal was money.
Well, there you go. And it worked apparently.
Not too shabby.
Yeah. Now, do you have any favorite plugins for SEO? I know I've been playing with this one. I think it's called WordPress SEO by this guy named Yoast, who seems to really know stuff. And then for years, everybody's been saying the all-in-one service pack was the big SEO. Any of those. Now, of course, if you want to know about plugins, we should probably mention that while we're here. If you want to know about plugins, I'm going to say it again. I really love the podcast you're doing, WordPress Plugins A to Z. Find that at WordPressPluginsA to Z.com. But plugins, any of these that are your favorite when it comes to SEO, any tools we should be using?
I use all-in-one SEO, but you have to remember a plugin is only as good as the data that you put into it. It doesn't help to have all-in-one SEO plugins installed if you're not going to go through the motion of putting in an excerpt, putting in a title, changing the way that the description is, making sure it's not the same as the excerpt. It's all those things. So what you choose as a plugin should not determine how you measure your success. It should always be what you're going to put into it. So for me, often I will record a show and have everything written out about it as far as what I'm going to talk about. You bring up the WordPress show. John and I, John Overall, my co-host, we share a Google Doc, and essentially he puts his 3 plugins in, I put my 3 plugins in, and I don't really look at what he's going to do until like 5 minutes before the show, just to make sure that it's not something that overlaps, or if there's a good segue in between, we'll kind of reorder the arrangement. But that is the goal. If you can start to plan your content ahead of time, you can kind of write out what it is that you want in your show notes ahead of time. That helps you stay on focus as far as when the actual mic comes on. And it also lets you determine what the target of that particular episode is. You can sort of formulate in your outline, okay, for this show, if I do this show about a specific model of a guitar, I know that I'm going to want to target that particular aspect and that topic throughout the search engines. And then maybe there's something on the back end that I can make some money off of this, whether that be an Amazon link or something more complex than that. There's always a way to monetize whatever topic it is that you're talking about. So getting back to the point, it really doesn't make a difference what you use as far as a plugin. It's just that you have to use your brain in entering things into the plugin.
All right, so it's another case of, putting a bow on a pig. It doesn't really matter. All right.
Right.
Can you kind of go too far with that? Because you still have to write it so people read it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the end goal anyway, right? You want to make a compelling headline, and that's the same with your podcast. If you want to make it compelling, you don't just want to say SOP number, 599. You want to say Today we're talking to Marcus. You want to get something that's a little bit more than just the average show notes with click here linked to the particular offer. You need to make sure that the content's good, and then the way you describe the content itself is good as well. So it's all a matter of what you put into it. Don't try keyword stuffing, because keyword stuffing, you're trying to fool a search engine. You want to make good content for the listener, not only for their ears, but for their eyes.
Yeah, I was laughing. I saw a post about starting a podcast, and I swear every sentence had the phrase start a podcast in. It was like, when you start a podcast, you want to do this, because if you're starting a podcast and it was just over and over and over, start a podcast. I'm like, well, I guess we all want to know what phrase he's going for, but
yeah. And there's nothing genuine about that.
Right.
It doesn't compel me. It just makes me go, boy, India calling. They want their article back.
What are some things that people might be doing, thinking that, hey, this is going to boost their SEO, this is going to get me more traffic, and it's more than likely probably not doing anything for them?
Well, like we said, keyword stuffing is not a good way to do it. Talking just about, affiliate offers or sponsor offers or things like that, or giving just links out to things that you talk about rather than why you're talking about them within your show notes. That's probably something that you should be doing better. But it's consistency and it's planning. And a lot of people start off with good intentions, but then they just kind of get lazy and have to publish the episode last minute and just get lazy with show notes. I'm guilty of it too. I've done it, and I've paid the price for it too. The second I got lazy with show notes, everything started dropping. So you just can't do that. You cannot go half-witted about how you're going to deliver content. And it's not just content that people listen to, it's content that people look at, and oftentimes that's how they find your content to begin with. So that's one of the things. You should plan your show with, in the back of your head, to be pre-considered for SEO in mind. And that includes writing the title out ahead of time. That helps you stay focused within the episode as well, to make sure that you're centered and on track of the one thing that you're trying to deliver, rather than kind of dancing around the issue. So one way I do that, I mentioned, we have a Google Doc. I use Excel a lot of times and plan out issues. Sometimes I want to talk about a particular style of plugin or something like that, and I don't want to do two in a row. I'll plan it out so that one is this week, and I'll wait 3 more weeks until I talk about something else, just to sort of refresh people's memory about it. So it all boils down to planning. And you have to, like I said, keep that target in mind. If you don't ever have what a target is, you're going to go into this blindfolded, and there's no way you're going to hit your target. But if you plan ahead, and if you got your eyes opened and focused on what elements you need to create for good content, then both media and site content will sort of find their way right into that center path, and you'll get much faster and much better at this as time goes on.
Let's talk about, I call it low-hanging fruit, those easy things that people could be doing that maybe they forgot. I know, like, one I always see is permalinks, where if you have your website, and instead of the page being schoolofpodcasting.com / Marcus Couch Talks SEO, it's, schoolofpodcasting.com / equals P3796876. And I go, oh man, somebody's just missing the boat there. So are there any things like that, low-hanging fruit, that people could be doing to boost their SEO?
Well, the permalinks is an important part. And by the way, all of you podcasters out there should be using WordPress as your platform of choice. We kind of, I guess, insinuate that everybody is using WordPress, but that just may not be the case. And WordPress has many, many great qualities in it. Being a great podcast platform is just one of them. The fact that Google really loves to index quick sites like WordPress, the fact that WordPress loads relatively quickly, and the fact that you can change the way that the site looks without losing a shred of content or any of your your links to your site, that's invaluable as far as I'm concerned. You can move them from host to host without any difficulties at all. So if you're not already using WordPress, do it. Now, once you do have the option to create, as Dave said, permalinks, which permalinks help in the sense of not necessarily the keywords that are in the permalink, but it displays the permalink when you see the search engine results within Google. You'll see that. And so if I see something that's if I'm looking for new blue widgets and I see davejackson.com/new blue widget review and he's number one, I'm going to click there. If it's $P equals 1486.b widget, I'm probably not. So again, it's all context, right? You kind of want to know ahead of time what you want that permalink to be when you make the show. Don't always make it your domain name.com/ whatever, episode 86. You don't want that. No. Make it title based around what it is that you're actually talking about.
Yeah, I actually do that, but I do that in addition to my original post. So if I say, whatever episode this is going to be, which I don't know at this point, 335, you can go to schoolofpodcasting.com/335, but that's something that I make. My original post has an actual permalink. That's just something I do with a plugin called Pretty Link. So
yeah, and see, that's a great thing is you're able to reference that particular link to your show.
Well, I know something I used to do that just dawned on me as I was talking with you. I used to put a link in my actual show notes at my website that said, this show originates from schoolofpodcasting.com, because I know it was going to end up in all these different directories, and I thought, if nothing else, I've always got one link back to the mainland.
That's right.
Because people steal it and they scrape it and they throw it on, I'll find some, I'll do a search and I'll find my content, but it's not on my site. Somebody else has taken it and thrown it and they've littered it with Google ads, and I'm like, all right, well, if nothing else, I've still got the link back to my website.
Exactly. So let's talk, Dave, about something else that's SEO related, but it will help you tenfold if you start this strategy.
All right.
Now, if you noticed, throughout the time that I talked about in the early days when I had CDs out and was doing that, to podcasting, and then another thing that we didn't really mention is I also did this thing where I took all of the music shows on the network and I was the host of this other show called Rewind. Do you remember Rewind?
I do. I remember doing one at the pool in Vegas.
Yeah. So do you know what? By the way, do you know why I did Rewind?
Well, again, it put you as just by association, because you were the guy that was the host, you kind of, again, take on that role as the ringleader of all the music podcasts.
That's right. So you put yourself on the map. You want to make yourself the authority. And I'm not suggesting that anybody go out there and start their own compilation show, because it eventually becomes a nightmare. But the thing is, just like I did with those CDs, just like I did with the bands and made them all come together and make a compilation, just like I did with all the music shows on the network, I wanted to make myself the center ring, so to speak. Now, how do you do that in podcasting? Well, it's pretty easy, actually. If you do an animal podcast and you have a particular episode about bluebirds, then remember that you have that bluebird episode. Start setting Google alerts about your episode topic of bluebirds. And then every time a new alert comes up, and believe me, you'll get one every day, go back to where it takes you, whether that be a blog or forum or somewhere that you can participate in, and leave a comment and say, hey, you know what? I did an episode about bluebirds, and one of the facts that I didn't know before was that bluebirds fly south only once every 4 years. I'm making this up. But if you want to know other facts about it, my episode is here, and I talk about all kinds of different animals and birds on my podcast. Come on by. You'd be surprised. You would think, okay, well, this might be comment spam. No, because you're actually injecting yourself into the conversation. You're a podcaster, which already gives you some street credibility, right? Mm. You're already an expert enough to have the guts to turn the microphone on and actually, have the guts to put it out. So you'd be surprised at what that can do. Now, is that SEO? Yeah, it's a backlink. You know that particular post has Google's attention already because they gave you an alert about it, right? Mm. And you also may have a pretty good audience, an audience that in turn will look at your link, go to your show, read your show notes about what it is that you happen to say, and probably listen and subscribe to your podcast if it's a relevant place that you feel would benefit from your content.
And I think the key there is when you say put a link, we're talking a link back to the post, not a link to the MP3 file.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. That's one very important thing that you want to do is always link to the post itself, not the MP3.
Right, because Google's going to see that link and go, okay, well, I can't read that, so.
Exactly. That's a very good point that you bring up there.
How do you keep up with all this stuff? What resources do you use to keep up with this stuff?
I mentioned Google Alerts. That's one good thing. Search about what it is that you talk about and find out what's working. So it's that reverse engineer thing. Find out exactly what terms and things like that. Are they sifting through crap, or are they actually giving you some pretty good stuff every day? Take a look at that. Watch your Google Analytics, Webmaster Tools, that kind of thing. See what you're ranking for, and then see what kind of other secondary searches start coming in to your website. If there's a particular topic that you haven't talked about yet you see a lot of different searches sort of find their way to you, and it's relevant, start talking about it. Make some posts about it. See what happens. There may be just an untapped resource that you just haven't even thought of yet.
Very cool. Any websites that you pay attention to that...
I don't really have tons of time to browse just because I'm working on a lot of different my own properties, but Search Engine Land is a great one. Marketing Land is another good one. They're put out by Danny Sullivan, who's pretty local to me over here in Southern California. I subscribe to their email briefings, which is great because then I can check my email mobile-wise and just kind of get an overview of the headlines and click through to the main stories if I want to. Social media-wise, I've been pretty big with Social Media Examiner as far as some of the stuff that he does and getting the latest news on Facebook and Pinterest and all the other gimmicky things that are out there.
Right. You had mentioned Google Alerts, something that I don't know why I didn't know this, but you can actually do a Google Alert. And if you're like me and I don't really want a whole lot more of email coming in because I get enough, you can actually do a Google Alert and then get an RSS feed for that alert and throw that into your Google Reader. If you're more of an RSS person than an email person, you can actually get those via RSS if you're not an email person. So that's another tip about Google Alerts.
Exactly.
Now, I checked out some of your sites, the Scene Zine, dailyplugin.com, marcuscouch.com. They all look pretty good. And so I want to ask you, what are maybe your favorite themes that you're using?
Okay. I use iThemes Builder a lot just because I like the functionality of how it works. There's been a lot of kind of drag and drop theme sets. I really like how Builder works just from this fact that it's almost like making the entire website out of widgets, which seems pretty cool. I also use Genesis themes from the Studio Press guys and Copy Blogger. And I've gotten into Artisteer for just making some kind of back-end single sites that do small little things rather than just a fully blown site. It's a really quick way to get up and organized. But it really doesn't make a difference. I would say this, though, for anybody who is thinking about changing the design of their site or at least getting started in WordPress and trying to find their way through themes, make sure that you have a theme that is known as responsive, which responsive means that it will work on any mobile device, any pad, any size pad, anything. It formats itself to be the size of whatever display device the user is looking at. If you want to know more about kind of plugins and things, you can listen to some of the other stuff that I do on my podcasts, and we go through tons of them every week. There's too many to keep up with. There are literally 22,000 WordPress plugins out there, so use them with caution.
Yeah, just because they're free doesn't mean that's a good idea on some of those. Well, the other thing I want to ask is, in terms of, we know what you obviously you listen to podcasts. What makes you unsubscribe to a podcast?
Well, terrible audio quality. I am not going to go through 7 years of being an OCD audio quality addict on my own show and then tolerate sloppiness as far as audio on other shows. And not to sound weird about that, but if you're doing an audio show, make it sound good. Spend $50 and go get an SM58 and at least make yourself sound audible. Yeah. If I hear the word talk shoe in the first 5 seconds, I unsubscribe.
Blog Talk Radio, yes.
Yeah. As far as video podcasts, if your show has absolutely no reason for being on video other than to show your logo and you sitting in front of a mic, that's not a good video podcast. It's not compelling. I don't like it. I unsubscribe. Being current, if you have a time-sensitive subject and you don't put out an episode but twice a year, probably not a good thing. No, I picked music podcasting for a reason. Music is timeless. My content is just as good today as it was 7 years ago when you listen to it.
That's a good point. It's always evergreen.
That's right.
Well, talking about video podcasts, tell us about the daily plugin and any idea when we can expect that? Because it's almost done. I always say that for a year and a half. I've been saying that, but let's back up about that one sec. Okay.
Why am I on a show called WordPress Plugins A-to-Z.com? Well, because I was originally just known as the music podcasting guy and really wasn't known in the WordPress world. But I am now.
That's true.
When I launched my video show, which was my goal from day one, I told my co-host, look, I'm going to be doing a video show that's not going to impede on what we are, but I want your audience. He had no objections to that. Our numbers since we've started that show have probably tripled since I've come on board in the last year. And so that's why I wanted to use that as a precursor, not only to sharpen my skills and have somebody bounce things off of, but to gain credibility within that market. And you'd be amazed at how many people leave us audio comments that says, I've heard about your show weekly or on Weekly Web Tools or in School of Podcasting or Dustin Hartzler's show, Website Engineer, any of those. I wanted to immerse myself because I'm not only the expert on that show, a lot of the shows that you do and a lot of shows other people do now know me for being that SEO and WordPress expert, so that when I launch this video property, it will have every component that I wanted to from day one as far as when I started.
So how did you do that? I mean, do you just walk up to John and go, hi, John, I don't know if you know me, but I'm Marcus Couch.
Yep, that's exactly how I did it. No, what it was is I was listening to his show, and he had another co-host at the time, and then it was about 6 weeks of them having no co-host. And I wrote him, and I said, what's going on? And I'll be your next co-host. I've been waiting on it. I tried it with another guy who had a WordPress podcast, but he didn't want to do it. So that's the thing. You got to get in people's face. You got to get in, work with other podcasters. They're just podcasters. They're not Howard Stern, If you have something to bring to the table, then bring it to the table. You never know what it could cook up at the other end. So the daily plugin is something that I've really worked a long time on, and it's kind of bringing everything out in me that I want it to. But here's the thing. I have a goal for it. What is my goal with it? I want that show every day to be in the WordPress Planet feed, okay, which means it'll end up in people's dashboard that host WordPress sites. That's huge to me. That's distribution right there.
There you go.
That's my one goal. I have to make it that good. B, I want it to appear on WordPress.tv, their video arm. Okay, which means I have to be the authority in this when I do it. So that's why I needed a year's worth of audio podcasting to get my chops down as far as what people expect. And then I'd like the goal of having the show be so good that people that make themes and plugins and things like that will fly me around the country to talk about their WordPress plugins and go to WordCamps and things like that. So those are my 3 goals going into it. And that's why it's taking me a little bit longer as far as the preparation. But as a podcaster, those are going to be my 3 goals, and every show that I do focuses on those 3 things.
Now, I have a question on that then, because obviously with video podcasting, it as we know, it takes longer. The files are bigger, so it's more expensive both in time and money for hosting. How are you going to monetize that to where, or is that something you're not worried about and you're just going to benefit in other ways?
Well, I've already gone to GoDaddy and I have the promo code plugin 10, plugin 15, plugin 40.
There you go.
hosting companies, that type of thing. I want to make it so good that GoDaddy themselves will put me in as far as maybe on somewhere on GoDaddy where they're talking about WordPress hosting or something like that.
Super Bowl commercial.
Absolutely. No, I don't care. I don't care about that. You know,
Right.
I'm ROI. I want small audience, big return.
There you go.
And now it's time for a last 5 in 5. What were the last 5 podcasts you listened to?
Hey, you mentioned Dustin Hartzler's, your website engineer podcast. So while you're here, we might as well have you spit one out. Give us a last 5 in 5. And of course, if you're new to the show, I would like to do these more frequently. So feel free to hit the speak pipe button out at the website or call them in. What it is, it's the last 5 podcasts that you listen to, maybe a little bit about them. If you know their website, that's always helpful. But it's the last 5 podcasts you listen to. Not so much what are your favorite 5 podcasts, but just the last 5 you listen to. And if you can kind of explain that in less than 5 minutes. So, Marcus, you're up.
Okay. Last 5 in 5, it's always varied according to who puts content out when. But when you're consistent, you always make my 5 in 5. So your website engineer is Dustin Hartzler's podcast. I listen to that not only because there are some base fundamentals about WordPress that you sometimes forget, but we're seemingly starting to share an audience. So I want to know what he's talking about and sort of cater to the listener on both sides of the fence, so to speak. Dave, all of your stuff I always listen to. I'm not a musician, but I always listen to Marketing Musician and some of the other ones that you do. And Building a Better Dave is fun that you're making a comeback with that. I enjoyed hearing about your football adventures and cheerleaders and things.
Right.
I'd love you to bring back Best of the Worst.
Yet another podcast I did on a dare.
That was by me.
Yeah.
A dare by me that you started a podcast.
Well,
so.
I was going to make a podcast, and I forget exactly how it came about, but I was talking about how we were both saying, because we did music podcasts, and I was always looking for music to play on podcasts, and I just said, man, there's so much just horrible music out there.
Yeah. And I dared you to do a show of nothing but terrible music. And you did.
I did.
It's great. I love the promos were the best. Wow, 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 wow. Come on.
I'll play the promo maybe at the end of this podcast. It doesn't exist anymore. I should probably put the website back up so you could get the old episodes out. I don't think it's in iTunes anymore, but yeah, it was very hard for me to do because it was weird because you'd tell somebody, man, your music is absolutely horrible. And then they'd email you, hey, thanks for putting me on your podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did you listen?
Yeah. Did you know that the slogan was by the end of the podcast, you'll wish you were deaf? I mean, come on. That was a great show. I listened to WTF with Mark Maron. I never really was into comedians just because they're self-loathing people. But
right.
I love to hear about like how people started, like Robin Williams and some of those guys, and just to hear about the crap that they had to eat when they first started out. And, I love stories like that of people that actually do very well with themselves despite adversity.
That's right.
No Agenda. I love listening to John C. Dvorak and Adam Curry in the morning. Great show that's out twice a week religiously. And I love listening to the stream of that show, actually, too, because then you get to follow along in the chat room and hear the whole peanut gallery chiming in. And one that I never miss is Marketing Over Coffee with John Wall and Christopher Penn. Christopher Penn is one of the smartest guys in podcasting. If you ever were on Mevio or podshow.com, he's the little financial aid podcast thing that spams you 10 seconds after you sign up. That's one smart guy as far as networking. But I always come away with at least one new thing that I've never heard on any other show or blog when I listen to that show. So that's basically my 5 in 5.
There you go. All right, well, first of all, thank you, man, because I realize we've been talking for a while, so I really appreciate you coming on the show. If you want to find out more about Marcus, he is one of the coolest dudes on the planet. I really do. I've always enjoyed hanging out with you. Find him at marcuscouch.com. On Twitter, he's at Marcus Couch, and you can find the Daily Plugin. A lot of stuff going over. I've already checked this out. You can find that at dailyplugin.com, but there's also a lot going on at Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/Daily Plugin, you can find him there. And then last but not least, the Scene Zine, like we mentioned, it's timeless. I was listening to it today.
Good.
You can find that at thescenezine.com if you're into that hard rock, heavy metal kind of stuff. It's a great podcast. If you like that kind of music, man, Marcus had an ear for that stuff. It's awesome. And of course, if you want to find out more about WordPress, it's a great plugin. One of my favorites. I'm always excited when it shows up on my phone. Go to wppluginsa2z.com. All those lovely places to find you, man. So again, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
And there you have it, my interview with Marcus Couch. And I'm always saying to people, in fact, I have somebody next Tuesday I'm going to interview. If you have a for whatever better phrase, I don't want to say a good answer because they're all good answers, but if you can answer the question because of my podcast, I want to hear from you. If you just want to record that answer and send it on in, I would be happy to play it and promote your podcast. And because of my podcast, yes, if you go out to theschoolofpodcasting.com, you can see my earning reports, and you can earn money with your podcast by going to More Podcast Money and buying my book. Yes, there are other ways but one of the ways you can benefit from a podcast is finding like-minded people. And one of the biggest, I don't want to get all super sentimental here, but one of the biggest benefits I've had from starting a podcast is knowing Marcus Couch. Because there was a time in 2010 when my life really took a bad turn. And there are certain podcasters that we go from email to chatting to things like that. But Marcus and I are actually, he's on my cell phone. I can dial Marcus right now. And when my life went in the tank, I got a phone call from Marcus that just really, when it's a Wonderful Life kind of thing, that, a man that has friends is truly rich. And, so that's one of the things, if somebody said, hey, what were one of the benefits of podcasting that you have? I could say, well, I've done this. I got to speak here. I got to do that. I was on the radio. I got to, blah, blah, blah. You know what? One of the coolest things about me starting podcasting is I know Marcus Couch. And that's one of the things I always talk about. One of the greatest things about podcasting is you will find that people that are kind of just like you will come and listen to you and then interact with you via email, like Dave at School of Podcasting, like voicemail by dialing 888-563-3228, by clicking on the voicemail button out of the website, by leaving a comment like Judy. And this again is Judy from Farm and Wife. Said, I just listened to the latest podcast while working ground in a tractor. Very strange to hear my name on a podcast. Well, Judy, you're hearing it again. But thank you. I had not intended to be disparaging to other podcasts. They do a great job. I just wanted to emphasize personal preference in choosing which podcast to listen to. P.S. Dave, please ditch the banjo music. I hope that wasn't offensive. I wasn't trying to be. And speaking of competition and things of that, Daniel J. Lewis also commented, so while I'm here, I might as well read this to you. Spot on with the competition point. If one person gets into the nitty-gritty details, they'll appeal to that audience that wants the nitty-gritty details, but other podcasters will take a different approach that other listeners will like the best. But as a whole, it's like each podcaster is painting a three-dimensional object, each one from their own perspective and each with their own step in the process. Some podcasters are primers, some are paints, some are finishers. While I love this podcasting space, what I love in this podcasting space is how much we refer to each other. Sometimes we build on what each other says. Sometimes we offer an alternative perspective. And sometimes we say the same things from different personalities. I love it. And that's from Daniel J. Lewis over at theaudacitytopodcast.com. So there you go. We keep batting each other back and forth because I heard him mention my podcast on his. So there you go, Daniel. Thank you for that. And I hope the podcast awards are over at this point as I record this. So hopefully Daniel picked himself up a reward or not. But thank you so much for tuning in. I realize if you're new to the podcast, I normally do not do podcasts this long. But Marcus and I were just on a roll. And we'll be back next week, if not sooner. I've got a lot to talk about. I just didn't want to put it all in this episode. Even though Judy's got plenty of time out there on the tractor, I do cut it off usually around an hour. So this is where I'm going to plug for, 15 seconds. If you want to start a podcast, come on in. The water is great. And just go out to the School of Podcasting, click on the Join Now button in the upper right-hand corner, and you will have step-by-step tutorials. You will have access to resources like music, like graphic people, like everything you need to start a podcast is there. And if you can't find what you're looking for, you got little old me to say, Dave, where the thing is the Blueberry, the RSS feed burner, what? Huh? You just email me and I go, oh, it's right here. And we get you up and going. If you don't have a website, please email me with the phrase quick start in your email. And I will actually, if you purchase your hosting through me for your website, if you're ready to jump in the water, go ahead and, again, send an email to me with quick start in the title. I will then send you a link. You order the hosting. You send me an email from the hosting company. I go in, set up your WordPress, set up your podcast for you. All you need is your graphics and your content. But wait, there's more. You then get a month free at the School of Podcasting. And again, right along with that, you'll have me the whole way talking you through the process. So if you already have a website, and you're like, oh, I can't take advantage of that. Take advantage of this. The coupon is LISTENER, LISTENER, and you will get a discount off your first month. And the first month isn't that much. You want to see how much? Go click on the Join Now button, and you'll find out, and you'll see how much you save. It's 30% when you use that coupon. So thank you so much. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. I'm very, 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 very thankful for you. And don't eat too much turkey. And when you do, go over and listen to me at logicalloss.com. That's my weight loss podcast. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next week with another episode of the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. Go click the Join Now button. And until next week, class is dismissed. Thanks again. Live a life worth podcasting about. God bless. Hey, who doesn't love a parade? The big marching bands, the dazzling majorettes, the funny clowns, and the beautiful floats. And after all those wonderful entertainers, there's that one guy at the end of the parade cleaning up the horse. Well, that man is me. I'm Dave Jackson, and I want you to join me every week as I bring you the best of the worst bands at the PodSafe Music Network. Hey, just because you suck doesn't mean you don't deserve a little exposure. I mean, after all, what are the best episodes of American Idol? Those weeks where those creepy, crazy, tone-deaf people do their best, and it's the worst. So join me at bestoftheworstpodcast.com and help us pick the best of the worst. By the end of the show, you'll wish you were deaf.